In 1986, I started Advanced Systems. At that time, it was called Computer Training Center. I was working for an accounting firm after I worked in the finance office at Canadian University College. I wanted to be an accountant. So I joined a firm and hoping that someday I could become a chartered accountant. But I soon realized I wanted to see people's face and not just books and numbers. And at that time, computers were just coming in, and the person that I was working for asked me to look after the computers. So I had this big Radio Shack computer, which had, I think it was a 10-inch disk, floppy disk. And I started learning the software. And then one day I had this idea that if I could only train people to use computers. I saw it coming. For some reason, I could see it in my head, how this is going to be changing the world. And I didn't have a clear direction. So I simply talked to my boss, who was a friend of mine, and I said, look, I'm not enjoying this work. I'm sure you're not getting the best out of what I'm doing. Why don't I work for you part-time? My wife is a teacher, so we had just gotten married, so she had a job, and I said, if I'm going to make a switch, now is the time. So I came and started the Computer Training Center, where my office currently is. I'm not a mover. I never move from anywhere. So where my current office was the Computer Training School. So I had 6 computers, floppy disk, and I started teaching people WordPerfect. And people thought I was a genius because many of them didn't know how to turn the computer on. And so I just taught. I made an income and eventually quit that part-time job and did this thing day after day. Then I very quickly realized that people who were selling computers did not know how to train the people. They were salespeople and not trainers. Because of my accounting background, I was very quickly able to not only know accounting, but also how to set the people up to do their small business accounting. That was one single reason for my success. So the people who were buying said, well, if we buy it from this guy, maybe he can also train us. Although I didn't want to sell. I'm not really somebody who enjoyed selling. But it just forced myself into opening another division for computer sales. So I opened the sales division and hired a couple of guys I needed a technician then. And then I did the training, and I would go and set this thing up. That's how the Computer Training Center started. That's the first private training center in Red Deer. There were others since then who came. And I got to know a lot of the local businesses by doing this training. See, selling can only be a one-time relationship. You buy the computer, you have nothing else to offer, it's done. But training was an ongoing relationship. So I got to know them. So 2-3 years later, thankfully the computers go obsolete every 3 years, keeps me in business. And so I was back there again. If they were happy, they came back because we knew their system. And so we built a very personal relationship with many of the local businesses. That's what also was the key to the success of A Better World. So when I started A Better World and started traveling a bit, the customers would come and say, oh, where have you been? You know, I would tell them I was on a trip, I'm doing this. Then they'd say, can we come with you next time? That's how the trip started building. And then the customers that came with me came back and said, man, we know this guy. We've seen the project, let's put some money. So not only they bought the computers, they started giving me money for the charitable cause. That's why I'm still here. I have very little interest in computers today, but frankly speaking, the staff, they're very good. They really look after the customers. They really look after the business. And they give me the freedom to travel. And of course, Advanced Systems is an important part of A Better World because it funds a lot of the operating expenses. That's why we can tell somebody, your donation does not go into running the organization. The office is here. People are here. I don't get paid by the Better World. Every other year, I try to take one employee from Advanced Systems on my mission trip so they can get to know the vision of the company and they can also do some technical work on site with the computers. So this year I had one of my technicians travel with me and did an excellent job. Lots of computer issues the projects were facing, individuals were facing, schools were facing. So I let him loose. I said, this is your job. And we have a partnership. They have to pay for 50% of the trip. Advanced Systems pays for 50% of the trip. Advanced Systems give 50% of their vacation time. As part of the work, they have to give 50% of their vacation time to do the mission trip. So both are investing in this thing. It's costing them something, it's costing me something. I've taken 4 of my employees. I'd like to take, 5 actually, I'd like to take another 4 or 5 in the next 4 to 5 years. There's a list. People just sign up and say, consider me, I'm ready to come. So that's what the company does. Now, of course, it does a lot of other things, networking and implementation. And technology is very useful to me because all the things related to corresponding with people, to setting up websites, are all available within the office. I'm very grateful that I used to think the world doesn't need another computer guy to make it better. So here I am.